What comes to mind when you think of the Grand Canyon? A vast geologic wonderland of layered rocks in beautiful shades of red, orange, and tan. The might of the Colorado River, which carved its way down to the canyon floor. When most people think of the Grand Canyon, they don't think of fossils. Perhaps it's because dinosaur fossils, the most famous group of prehistoric animals, aren't found here. Finding fossil footprints at the Grand Canyon is not unexpected, though. The canyon, on the other hand, preserves a rich history of life on Earth, going back at least over 1 billion years. The Grand Canyon National Park fossil record contains a diverse range of organisms, from ancient bacterial colonies to Ice Age mammals. The vast stretch of red rock is home to a variety of formations, containing preserved remnants of the past. When a geology professor's discovery turned out to be bigger than he could have imagined, he discovered the oldest vertebrate fossil tracks ever discovered at Grand Canyon National Park, going all the way back 313 million years. A large, lizard-like creature crawled up a coastal sand dune in what is now the Grand Canyon 313 million years ago. A light dew wetted the tracks, cementing them in place, and then wind-blown sand buried them, preserving the clawed footprints of the animal for eons. The trackway, according to paleontologists who studied it, is the oldest recorded vertebrate trackway in the Grand Canyon National Park. Tetrapods, or four-legged beasts, left these tracks as well as another set left later in time. The second set of footprints was laid down after some sand had accumulated in the first set. And the researchers believe that they're from the same species. The first vertebrates to walk the land were the early tetrapods. Before tetrapods, all vertebrates were limited to aquatic environments. But around 360 million years ago, tetrapods began their conquest of land in the Paleozoic. Tetrapods is a term used to describe anything with 4 legs. As a result, all land vertebrates can be classified as tetrapods. Alan Krill, a Norwegian geology professor, first discovered the imprinted tracks in 2016, while leading his students on an annual field trip to the Grand Canyon along Bright Angel Trail. He noticed the fossilized footprints etched into a fallen boulder at the trail's base of a canyon. Krill photographed the prints and emailed them to Steve Rowland, a geologist who frequently accompanied the Norwegian group on their excursions. Rowland and his team determined that the track-bearing boulder fell from a nearby Monocacha Formation cliff exposure. We were able to determine that it was from that area because we studied the nature of the rock, including features like color and grain size, he explained. Knowing where the rock came from allowed researchers to date the tracks. According to the researchers, the creatures would have been about the size of a modern-day chuckwalla, measuring 15 to 30 inches or 40 to 80 centimeters long. Rowland's team discovered 2 surprising features when they examined the tracks. The first is that they're the oldest known amniotes living in sand dunes, said study co-author Steve Rowland, emeritus professor of geology at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Amniotes are animals such as birds and reptiles whose eggs can survive in the absence of water. Earlier evolved species such as fish and amphibians require water to lay their eggs. Finding these amniote tracks in what was once a coastal dune indicates that these ancestors of modern reptiles adapted to land almost as soon as they evolved, Rowland explained. The second surprising aspect is the arrangement of the footprints. These tracks revealed a lateral sequence gait, Rowland explained to Live Science. If you observe your pet dog or cat moving slowly, you may notice it using a lateral sequence gait in which they move the right rear leg first, followed by the right front leg, and then the left rear leg first, followed by the left front leg. According to Rowland, this sequence is more stable than the other known type of gait, known as the diagonal sequence gait. Humans employ this diagonal movement, swinging our left arm forward in sync with our right leg, and vice versa. When moving their fins, fish also use a diagonal sequence. An international team of paleontologists then joined forces to investigate significant fossil footprints discovered in a remote area of Arizona's Grand Canyon National Park. A large sandstone boulder contains several exceptionally well-preserved trackways of ancient desert tetrapods. The 280 million-year-old fossil tracks were discovered near the beginning of the Permian period, before the first dinosaurs appeared. The first scientific article describing the fossil tracks from the Grand Canyon was published in 1918, just a year before the park was designated as a National Park Service unit. 100 years later, during Grand Canyon National Park's centennial celebration, new research on ancient footprints from the park was presented in a scientific publication released in 2020. Dr. Heitor Franceschini of the Laboratory of Vertebrate Paleontology at the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul was the lead author of the newspaper, which was co-authored by scientists from Germany and the United States. The Grand Canyon Fossil Track locality was first visited by Franceschini and Dr. Spencer Lucas, curator of paleontology at the New Mexico Museum of Natural History and Science in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in 2017. Paleontologists immediately recognized the fossil tracks as those of a long-extinct relative of very early reptiles, and they resembled tracks known from Europe as Ichneotherium. This is the first time Ichneotherium has been discovered in the Coconino sandstone and in a desert environment. Furthermore, these tracks are the geologically youngest record of this fossil track type anywhere on the planet. Ichneotherium is a type of footprint thought to have been left by the didactymorphs, an enigmatic group of extinct tetrapods. The didactymorphs were a primitive group of tetrapods that resembled both amphibians and reptiles. Didactymorph evolutionary relationships and paleobiology have long been important due to unresolved questions in vertebrate paleontology. Although the precise track marker for the Grand Canyon footprint is unknown, the Grand Canyon trackways preserve the travel of very early terrestrial vertebrate. The track and trackway characteristics point to a primitive animal with short legs and a massive body. The creature walked on all fours with 5 clawless digits on each foot. The geologic formation in which the new Grand Canyon fossil tracks are preserved is another intriguing aspect. The Coconino sandstone is an aeolian, or wind-deposited rock formation, with cross-bedding and other sedimentary features that indicate a desert deposition environment. As a result, the presence of Ichneotherium in the Coconino sandstone represents the earliest evidence of didactymorphs inhabiting an arid desert environment. Animals with 4 legs can move in both directions. No one knew how early in the history of animals the lateral sequence gait came into use, Rowland explained, but we know that it was used very early in the history of amniotes, 313 million years ago. Spencer Lucas, a paleontologist at the New Mexico Museum of Natural History, who was not involved in the research, praised it. According to him, the current study documents an important discovery: the oldest record of tetrapod vertebrate footprints in an aeolian rock layer, establishing that vertebrates were living in deserts millions of years earlier than was previously known. Fossils are important for studying the existence of life throughout history. They've been discovered here and there. More will be discovered in the future,